I mean, this is a theme. I announced at the beginning this was going to be one of the things I did. This is a theme in the ancient practice of dialectic. I mean, and the metaphor that Plato used, and he used it, and it's a difficult metaphor given our current sort of cultural political climate. But the metaphor is so apt because of all the things he evokes. He says we always have to be seduced into philosophia, right? And this picks up on Agnes Callard's notions of aspiration, right? If we made it, I mean, this sounds simplistic, but if we make it, it's not sacred. I mean, we have to feel ourselves drawn into it, and it has to have like something analogous to agency, though, like what you're talking about, Guy. It has its own internal grammar, if you'll allow me that metaphor, that is running before us. And that makes it possible for us, that we have to have kind of a reverence and respect to. Mm-hmm. I think that's, I agree with that, and like I say, that resonates. The reason why I like the seduction metaphor, for all of its troubling associations aside, is it brings in, right, again, because think about this, love is that way too, right? Love draws you. But if you make it, it's not love, right? And if you're just receiving it, it's not love. This is what I'm struggling, and you guys have all seen it. I'm struggling to really try and develop this Platonic notion of participation, right? It's neither, if we make it, it's not sacred. And if we try to make love, it's not love. Sorry, you know what I mean? We can make love in another sense. But if it's something we try to construct in an authorial fashion, it's not love. Mm. And if we're just receiving passively, that's not either. And the reason why this matters is because I know Jordan talks a lot about love, and this brings up one of the Platonic virtues, which is sophrosyne, right? So this is we have no good word for translating it. It's often translated as temperance, or moderate, modesty, or moderation. None of the words are good, right? It means a kind of self-control, but it's the kind of self-control that we find ourselves in. Rather, it's not like encratia. Encratia is, I want to do that thing, but I'm not going to do it, and I hold myself back. I make myself not do it. But sophrosyne is, I could do that, but I don't want to. Right? I'm naturally tempted to do the good. I find myself loving the good rather than having to resist the evil. And so the reason I'm on about this right now is because that seems to me to be a point where sort of Platonism and Christianity touched, and the notion of the church as a gathering, and Platonic dialectic as a gathering, the logos in Christianity, the logos. You see, I'm flinging things out here because I can sense them, drawing towards each other, and that's why I'm here. I want to bring this into discussion. I want to see, what we can do with these potential connections. That's dialogos. That's dialogos.
John, would you say the Greek word again, and if you wouldn't mind spelling it in the Greek letters?
I don't know if I can spell it in the Greek letters. I haven't done my ancient Greek in a bit. It's sophrosyne. Sophrosyne. Yeah. So the R script would be SOPHROSY or SU, because the thing in Greek is between the two, UN. And so Y or UNE. And yeah, it's one of the four cardinal virtues, with wisdom, courage, and justice. And it's one that we don't talk very much about in our society, but because of its connections to love and logos and ecclesia and dialectic, it seems to me like it might be the virtue that senses the normativity that we're talking about here. That's what I'm proposing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this sounds very much like it's a nice way of describing how I felt before I spoke a moment ago. There was an awareness of a path, two paths. One path had a path that was moving too fast, sort of muddying the waters or grasping, and the other path was a path that had more respect and therefore was more available to reveal, and that the sensing of rightness, like the real, like listening to where rightness was calling and which direction had that feeling of being called up and into, oriented towards the path of, we need to be very careful of protecting the sacredness of the moment. Sophrosyne. Okay.
Right. And so
Yeah,
Plato
absolutely.
dedicates a dialogue to it, in fact, the Charmides, where it's all about Sophrosyne. And it's interesting because it's a dialogue that's also considered to be where he talks a lot about his notion of rationality, and also one of the clearest exemplifications of Socratic and Lincus. All those three were circling very tightly together in that particular dialogue.
Jordan, when you made that distinction in that felt sense of there's something sacred and there's a pace, and you could feel the two and be aware of that you were feeling the two, for lack of a better way of putting this, what was the sense organ you were using to feel the difference?
Excellent question.
It felt like from the top of my throat to about 6 inches below my belly button and my front. So you'd say my upper torso.
Yeah.
And
the thymos.
The thymos, yes.
Yeah.
and I noticed as you say that there's like a couple of other examples where there's a feeling of that sort. The one that just came to me was actually as a child, actually learning how to be in relationship with an animal, mostly like a cat, where there's a sensing of a real sensing of the sensitivity of the moment, and how to actually put yourself in a place where you're creating an invitation, and very, very, very much has to actually be a real invitation. It can't be a fake invitation. You know what I'm saying, the difference?
Yeah.
And really just listening to what is calling for itself in the other, something like that.